This is the Omnivore Tag, but don't worry if you're still absolutely stuffed from the holidays. We're talking about consuming books today, not food. Hi everyone, Rosie here. Welcome back to my channel. If any of you are particularly pattern oriented like I am, you might notice that I don't usually post on a Tuesday, and yet here I am. I have a lot of tags that I want to do, and I didn't want to make January a month of just tags. It's going to be a lot of tags, fair warning. If you want to skip those, I'll understand. But I have a lot of tags that I want to get through because I kept getting tagged in things, and when I added them to my schedule, they were getting further and further out, and then I got tagged in something in mid-December and realized I was putting it in my calendar for February. So like, we've got to fix this. Anyways, I'm going to do some Tuesday videos in January, not every week, but a couple, to work through some of those tags. That's what's going on here. You probably didn't even notice and didn't care, but I'm going to explain it anyways. To kick off the month, I'm going to do the Omnivore Tag, which is a new tag from Emma of A Cup of Books. She tagged me in her video, which I will link down below. Definitely go check out her channel if you have not already, because she's amazing. This tag is really emblematic of her channel. Makes sense since she created it, because it's all about getting people talking about a wide variety of genres and talking about all of the different things they read, and I think that's pretty cool. So this intro feels like it's been going on forever, but probably most of that's going to get cut. Anyways, let's dive right into these questions. The way this tag works is kind of different. You pick 4 genres and then answer the same 3 questions for each genre. And the first genre I've picked is fantasy. I've never thought of myself as a huge fantasy reader, but it's the genre I've read the most of according to the story graph in 2020, so I guess I read fantasy. Mostly I read Terry Pratchett, but like, that's fantasy, so let's get into this. Question 1 is, what is your favorite book from this genre? Look, I can't possibly choose a favorite book from any genre, and if I try, it's going to be a book that you guys have heard me talk about in literally every tag video I have ever made. So for this question, in all 4 genres, I've tried to choose a book that I really like that I don't talk about as much. I love them, they're definitely some of my favorites, but it would get boring if I always talked about the same 4 books, right? So I'm trying to insert a bit of variety. And that's why for this one, I have chosen The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. This is, I guess, as much a murder mystery as it is a fantasy novel, but the fantasy setting and the fantasy elements within the book make the murder side so much more interesting. It's so much fun. We essentially have a Groundhog Day body-hopping detective who doesn't know why he's trying to solve this crime and doesn't know who he is. He just wakes up one morning in a body, and then when he goes to sleep, he wakes up in another body, but on the same day. It's really cool. It's a really, really interesting way of approaching what would otherwise be a pretty standard country house murder, but from a totally different perspective, and I adored it. The second question is, what book are you currently reading / just finished from this genre? If you saw my December wrap-up, you will know that I just recently read The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden, and it was so good! I'm not going to go into too much detail here. Check out my wrap-up up here if you are interested in hearing me gush about it for far too long, but that was such a fun book. It was such a cool read. I thought the way it was put together was so interesting and so well done, and this is not news to anyone because I am so late to the game with this book. It was one of those ones where I put off reading it for ages because I was afraid that it was going to be overhyped and I was going to read it and go, it was fine. But instead I read it and went, yes, of course, this is why all of these people whose opinions I respect have been telling me to read this book for ages. And question 3 is, what book do you think you'll read next from this genre? For me, that's Wyntertide by Andrew Caldecott. This is a sequel to Rotherweird, which I really, really enjoyed in early 2020. And I think basically what's happened is the main villain type character from the first book has been defeated, but all is not well in the strange, detached, weird town of Rotherweird, and there's some new plot afoot. There's strange omens showing up, and I am sure it is going to be a great time, so I'm really hoping to read that very, very soon. The next genre I've chosen is nonfiction history, which I'm pretty sure is the genre of nonfiction I read the most of. I enjoy it so much. And for my favorite book from that genre, I'm going with the 5, The Untold Lives of the Women Killed by Jack the Ripper by Hallie Rubenhold. I think it's been long enough since, I think it was August, when I was so in love with this book and wouldn't stop talking about it. I'm still so in love with it. I still think it's incredible. It's just a really great book. I love how in looking at the lives of these 5 women in such detail, Rubenhold can comment on and explore the lives of lower class Victorian women in general in such a great way. It was phenomenal, and this is always going to be a favorite for me, I think. As for a book I am currently reading or just finished in this genre, this is going back a little ways to November, but I actually just read The Covent Garden Ladies by Hallie Rubenhold because I loved the 5 so much, and this one did not live up. If you saw my November wrap-up, you will know that even going in expecting it to not be as good as the 5, it was kind of a disappointment. I think plausibly this one might have been amazing if I hadn't already read the 5. If I'd just gone in looking for an interesting read, it could have been kind of good. But because I know what Rubenhold is capable of, this one was kind of disappointing. And the last question for this genre is, what book from your TBR do you think you'll read next in this genre? I am definitely going to read The Faithful Executioner, Life and Death, Honor and Shame in the Turbulent 16th Century by Joel Harrington. This sounds so incredibly interesting. It's basically, I think, a biography or about the life of this man who worked as an executioner in Germany in the 1500s. In a really, really unusual way for his time, he kept a journal. So it was basically unheard of for normal people to keep a journal throughout their lives. And if they did, very, very few of those survive. But we have one for this man who not only was a normal person, but also worked a job that to the modern reader is so strange. I'm so interested to read this and to see his take on life. I've actually just started it for a buddy read with Lana and Tara. I'll link their channels down below, and I'm so excited to read this and so excited to talk about it. The third genre I've chosen is mysteries. I thought about narrowing in on cozy mysteries, but I do enjoy some non-cozy mysteries, so we're going a bit more broad. For what is your favorite book from this genre, I've picked The Majesties by Tiffany Tsao. I read this again early in 2020, I think, and it was incredible. It had such a different perspective to so many mystery novels that I've read. Instead of starting with the discovery of a body and having a detective, amateur or professional, working from there trying to determine who was there and who could have done things, we instead start the novel with a woman lying in a coma in a hospital, having just been the only survivor of a mass poisoning committed by her sister at like a big family party type thing. So we know from the get-go who did it, and the entire book is this woman sort of going back through her memories and through their lives, trying to figure out why. Why did her sister do this? It was incredible. It went places I did not expect it to whatsoever. Literally kept me up all night because I started reading it and it was so good I could not put it down. As for what I am currently reading / what I have just read in this genre, I've been on a bit of a Christie binge. I'm filming this a little in advance, as you will probably expect. I'm just in a mood where I just want to read Agatha Christie. So I just finished the Sittaford mystery by Agatha Christie, which is one of her standalone novels. It's in a remote English village. Some people are having basically playing with a Ouija board type thing, and they're informed that an acquaintance of theirs has been murdered. So one of the party sets out, gets to the village where this other guy is staying, and finds him dead. And then of course, who did it? What happened? Ooh, mystery. I found the detectiving portion of this really interesting. I was really into it, and then I found the resolution just really let me down. And then I went immediately from that, and now I'm reading The Murder on the Links. I think that's what it's called, also by Agatha Christie. This is the second Poirot novel, and the third that I've read, and I don't know. I'm not loving it. I'm really finding that there is a lack of characters to be remotely interested in this one because everyone's kind of being awful. Poirot's being arrogant. The rival detective is being arrogant. Hastings, the narrator, is just being an idiot. So I don't know, maybe I'll love how this one wraps up, but right now it's not my favorite. As for what book on my TBR is going to be the next that I read from this genre, I think it's going to be The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. So this one involves a monastery in I think the 1300s in Italy, and a monk shows up to investigate accusations of heresy against the monks who live there, and then people start dying and he has to become a detective and solve things. So I think this is pretty different from most of the like mystery novels that I read. As you can tell, I favor my Christies and like cozy mysteries and pretty short, pretty quick, pretty formulaic ones. I actually tried to read The Name of the Rose either in 2019 or 2020 and couldn't get into it. I didn't enjoy it. It felt very heavy and literary, but I'm really hoping that going in knowing that, I'm going to enjoy it a lot more this time. So fingers crossed for that one. And the final genre I picked is biographies / autobiographies. I wouldn't have said I was someone who loved biographies and autobiographies, but looking at my reading stats, apparently I do, so I thought let's go into that a bit. One of my favorite biographies that I have ever read was Reckless Daughter, A Portrait of Joni Mitchell by David Yaffe. It's been a little while since I read this now, I think it was early 2019, but it was so engrossing and so incredible. I have been, you know, a moderate fan of Joni Mitchell's music for a very long time. Is it even possible to have emotions and not like at least some of her stuff? I don't think so. Reading this gave me so much more insight into her music, it made me so much more interested in her as a person, and it really sent me down a deep dive down her full discography. It was so cool to read a chapter or two at night, read about where she was and what she was thinking about and what she was going through when she wrote an album, and then the next day at work play that album on repeat and listen to it thinking about what I had read the night before. I thought it was great. I thought it was so much fun. Highly recommend checking that one out if you're interested in autobiographies or music or just, you know, like feeling things. As for the book I am currently reading / just read, in December I read The Man Who Invented Christmas by Standiford. This is all about Charles Dickens, and I did a full vlog and review about it that I will link up there. This was fine. It was a good overview of Dickens and his career and like his life. I feel like I got a lot of information, but it was by no means a new favorite read or anything. And finally, what is the book you anticipate reading next from this genre? I'm really hoping to make time for, I have to read this because it's such a long title, Singin' and Swingin' and Gettin' Merry Like Christmas by Maya Angelou in the very near future. I absolutely adored the first two books in her autobiography series last summer, and I really want to keep reading them. They just keep falling to the bottom of the list, and every month I'm like, oh yeah, I should slot that in, and then they just don't quite make it, and they're the ones that keep falling off the bottom of my monthly TBR basically, and I really want to fix that. I'm really hoping to read the third and then the other ones as well in the very near future, so hopefully I'll get to that soon. I love her writing so much. She describes everything in the most beautiful way, and just her story is so incredible, and yeah, I'd really like to keep reading that soon. Alright, it's time to tag some people. As always, if you don't want to do this tag, no pressure whatsoever. If I don't tag you and you're interested, please do it. But here are some people who I think would have interesting answers for this. First off, as always, Emrita of Emrita by the Book, queen of tags, and reads so many interesting genres that I see very few other people talking about on BookTube. Then Nikki of Nikki's Books. Nikki, you're gonna get tagged in like so many things from me this month. Let me know down below if that's not okay, but I know you love your tags, so I'm gonna tag you in everything. Then Renee of Librarian of Alexandria. She does such fun tag videos and reads a bunch of different kinds of books, I think, so I'm sure she'll have some interesting answers. And finally, I'm going to tag Jeremy from Jeremy Fee. His videos are so fun. If you don't already watch them, be sure to go check them out. And he talks about so many different books that most people aren't talking about on BookTube right now. If you liked this video, please hit the like button down below. If you would like to see more of my videos, please hit subscribe, and thank you for watching.